In our known universe, some of the biggest objects aside from stars and Toblerones are gas giants. So it's no surprise that these representations are the biggest objects in No Man's Sky. But how close are they to the real thing? Luckily, I now have the answer. I wasn't just asking a rhetorical question like I usually do. Speaking of which, did you know that narwhals are actually real animals? On a recent spontaneous adventure, I went scouting for a new gas giant with every intention of walking all the way around it. After doing zero research on the true scale of these monsters, I felt confident that the long voyage would be doable if I had enough patience and found the right subject. I wanted to find a gas giant with the smoothest surface I could find and as little water as possible. Both wishlist items proved quite difficult to locate. On my quest to find a suitable candidate, I was distracted by a helpless freighter requesting aid against a swarm of attacking pirates. I, of course, did the noble thing and ran away. As karma often provides, I was treated to a terrible welcome inside the gas giant as it had horrendous visibility and some of the most treacherous terrain I've ever seen on such a planet. The next option in my vicinity had a much more differenter vibe. The ground was far more smooth and the coloring of the night sky took me back to the opening credits of a certain David Lynch film. I had my test subject and I was ready for a fulfilling journey. I knew that if I walked all the way around a gas giant, I would have a much better understanding of its true size. So I located a good starting point that would allow me to accomplish this without the need for a dozen markers around the planet to keep me on track. I found the equator and tried to land at one of the prominent longitudinal lines, but even flying in a starship, it was taking a long time to reach my destination. A wiser pig would have realized that this would be exponentially worse while walking, but I figured you never really know until you know, you know? I put down a base and with every genuine muscle in my body began a legitimate attempt to walk all the way around this massive chaotic rock. Shortly into the jog, I saw that it was a little more hilly than I thought. There were also some geodes in my path occasionally, but thankfully there were quite a few cotton pillows that got out of my way before I tripped over them. Before 3 minutes had passed, I fell into my first hole. Well, it was gonna happen sooner or later, might as well get it out of the way early. Less than 15 seconds later, I fell into my second hole. I decided to stay underground a little bit and keep moving in the right direction. Back on the surface, I ran into a couple pockets of gravitational inversion, which led me to believe that such anomalies would always help me in my journey. But I would be proven wrong in due time. During my first sunset, I saw my planet return to the beauty I had experienced when I first landed. I grabbed the occasional deuterium boost to make up for the stumbles along the way, and for a while there, I was feeling pretty good. Cool. With the next sunrise, I was treated to an unwelcome revelation. Is that concentrated humidity? There were more than just a few puddles on this gas giant. The water was much cooler than the air, which was pleasant, but I was concerned that the presence of this much water would interrupt my flow. Also, I still hadn't graduated from the water acclimation level of my swim class, so I wasn't as confident as I could have been. I was running into one lake after another. Felt like a triathlon without the bicycles. Then, to make matters worse... Okay. Alright, that's good. Oh, they got some real clingy tornadoes. That night, though, things were much more calm. Okay, this was really fun the first time, but now I feel like a stuffed animal in the dryer. 50 minutes in, I found my first building. I wanted to see what they were up to, and thankfully they were very transparent about their operations. After an hour had passed, I paused to take a look at how far I had made it. I had managed to stay pretty much on course, but I was more interested in my horizontal progress. In my first full hour, I had walked 3.14 degrees. Talk about taking a slice out of the pie. I guess it takes an hour to make a pie. Apparently, I was only an hour away from pie.
Boo!
This didn't seem like a tremendous amount of forward motion, so I took a break to break it down. My starting point on the x-axis was negative 180 degrees, ending at negative 176.86 in exactly 1 hour. The average travel speed on foot is 250 units per minute, which is the equivalent of 15,000 units per hour. And with that measurement, I could use just a few calculator buttons to figure out that the size of blue velvet is approximately 1,719,750 units around the perimeter. And walking around a planet of that size would take me about 114 hours and 40 minutes, or 4.8 days. It was at this point that I remembered I had something better to do. As much as I love walking in the same direction for an entire business week, I made a judgment call to protect my mental health. But I was not through with my science. Since units in Yeah Ladies Land roughly equate to meters in the real world, I could determine that blue velvet was roughly 5,642,224 feet around its waist. I went outside and quickly calculated how big Earth is, and determined that it is 12,756,000 meters, or 41,850,393 feet. This would place blue velvet comfortably at 7.42 times smaller than Earth. In terms of surface area, blue velvet is only a little bigger than South America. So, giant is very much a relative term in this context. But let's compare this to other gas giants in our solar system. The true gas giants nearby are the beloved Saturn and Jupiter. These heavily inflated balloons are made up of mostly hydrogen and helium, and on average they are 10.25 times larger than Earth. There are also planets classified as ice giants filled with methane and ammonia, and these are Neptune and your sphincter, but these aren't very similar to the gas giants in No Man's Sky. Of course, no real planets are like the ones in No Man's Sky, but that's beside the point. If we look at the average circumference of our well-known gas giants, my lovely blue velvet is an insignificant 76 times smaller. Granted, blue velvet is not the biggest gas giant I've stumbled upon, but this comparison really puts into perspective how big the real world is. People like to say small world whenever they run into a friend from high school, but never huge world when they run into a stranger that they'll never see again. Humans are weird. So where does that leave us? Let's go back to the original question. How big is a gas giant anyway? If you imagine a real gas giant was the size of a beach ball, a gas giant from No Man's Sky would be about the size of a marble. But hey, they're both really useful in different ways. One is a super fun way to play with friends at the beach, and another can be used to fill empty space in the junk drawer. When I started this quest, I had hoped to finish with a full sprint around a gas giant, but instead I'm finishing the video 8 weeks ahead of schedule. I have much more respect for these extreme spheres now, and I might even want to build a summer home here one day. If you know of someone who has walked all the way around a gas giant, let me know so I can send them flowers and a pack of Gatorade. Bye! In my next video, I'll be attempting to walk from my bedroom to the bathroom without taking a detour by the snack cupboard. An even more impossible task.